Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is an interesting video here. I got a 2010 X5M. As you can see, I've been working on it already. I had the air filter removed, which is in these ones are very easy. But so going back to the customer concern is a no start. So we worked on this car like a month ago, and I put on alternator and I did some repairs that you can see here, which are very common on these hoses in here. The reason we replaced the alternator by then, it was because these hoses were dripping right out the alternator, which is under this area here, and the connector was a little corroded. But so after that, the car, I think it's a little over a month. It's been working good. Yesterday, the customer went to start the car after, I think, 2 days or so of not using the vehicle, and it didn't want to start. So the car, he was able to start it, brought it over to the shop. This morning when I went to bring it in the shop, it was a no start condition. But yeah, I put a jump box and the car started. Even though I brought it in and removed the jump box and I tried to start it, and it was completely dead, like less than 5 volts on the battery. So I did a test in the battery, and it's from 320. It's a fairly new battery, original equipment. Let me take you over there. I'm just giving you as much as information so you can also use this for future reference if you're doing a diagnosis or something like that. So you can see it's from 320 and it's original equipment. All terminals and everything is displayed. Right now I got the battery charger connected, and that's why it's 13.10. And I use that as easy to see meter for the voltage. I'm going back again in the front so I can show you. I got the ignition room. The vehicle has 120,000 miles, almost on the dot. Hopefully that whole noise is not much in here. But so looking at all the fault codes that we have in here, we go back to fault codes. So we got a total of 59 codes of multiple modules. You can see all that looks like yellow, it has holes. Whatever is in green has no holes. Let me start the video 1 second. All right, going back in the video, I just stopped it because the compressor is next to me and I want to make sure the video is good sound. All right, going on to the fault codes, we can see that we have multiple codes under voltage and then battery exhausted, which is, concerning. We got an energy supply, and as you see, I mean, it's a lot of battery low. And also one thing that caught my attention was this BSD message alternator missing, and it happened. And that's the nice thing about using Ista. This is the original BMW equipment that can help you not just to see, like, let's say a freeze frame. I double click on here and it gives me details on how many times this fault has happened and where was the kilometers reading on that happening. So it has happened 10 times, and the first entry was in 191. I don't know why Ista or BMW software reads it in kilometers. I guess that's European style, but yeah, and the last one was right now. All right, and it has happened 10 times in between these kilometers, which is I'm talking about maybe 100 kilometers. So that's like in the last drive. Okay, is this because the battery was depleted? And the thing is, always make sure that you read all the information that you can acquire before you take a diagnosis approach. Very, very important. So the customer sent us a video that he heard a humming noise coming from this side of the car. That's why I removed all this, because the way he was putting the phone video was on here. I can hear a humming, and the only thing that can hum in there is the water pump for the turbo, which if you follow this hose, that is right there, and that feeds the turbos to cool the turbos down after a long drive or a short drive, more than 10 miles or so. As soon as the turbos get hot, that pump will run after you turn the car off to keep those turbos from overheating and burning the oil, right? Because otherwise it would cook the oil. But if the battery charge is too low, it will not happen. And that's why it's so important to keep a battery charge and battery system on these engines. N63 and S63 is super important. All right, going back into the diagnosis, what I like to use BMW equipment is now I can calculate a test plan, and that's going to give me a whole bunch of different tests that I can run and choose myself to gather information that will help me see if that is a problem or not. Going back to what the customers was saying, I then called the customer and request information. Was this after a short drive or a long drive, or was after a whole night? And then it's something running that shouldn't not be running with the engine off. And he's like, no, that was after a drive. So that is a completely normal situation. All right, going into the diagnosis, so to help you guys, all right, going over to energy diagnosis. And this is very good as far as the tests, because it's going to give us what the test instructions are, so you can read this information in here. Right now it's just gathering information, make sure the IBS is working and the battery voltage is enough to, you know, get all what we need here. But so you can read all this information. You can find those if you use air, again, BMW information. You can find all this there. There is no other way you can find this information. Maybe Identifix if you look for like energy diagnosis description or so. But that's what we have in here. All right, so we're going next, or continue. Then we can do all these tests. So I can go over to total discharge. And if I look into there, it's going to tell me what is the current state of battery charge. I got it on the chart. As you can see, it's still low. 50% is not really that good. Current start availability limit 31%, and that was when the battery was replaced 3,000 kilometers ago. Oh, sorry, 5,000 kilometers ago. All right, so we keep going, and this is the state of charge based on 5 days. So we can see that today in the morning it was at 2%. That battery was completely dead. But then a day ago it was in 31. So something happened in between the 1 day mark. So is the customer opening and closing doors and checking, you know, turning the radio on without starting the car, that will deplete the battery. Or we have a parasitic growth. That's why this is very important to acquire. So I got all these pictures, and in this shop that I'm working right now, we put, you know, pictures and video links for the customers and for our records, so we can go back and revisit that in case we need to have a history of repairs. All right, keep going on this. Let me see. Well, that's just asking me to check the discoloration on the insulation on the positive battery on the battery. It's not the color. That will be, you know, amperage or temperature related. All right, we're going to go to the return to the last selection. Other things, and let me see. Vehicle use when stationary. This is a very important part. This is going to tell me, all right, so the car maximum number of wake ups in the rest phase. So this is very important. So this being wake up without starting 22 times, and that is in the last 6 weeks. So as you opening the doors, the trunk, and the problem is if you do that and the car is not being moved much, you need to use a battery tender, because otherwise it will drain the battery. Every time you turn, you know, a door, or you open the door or the trunk on this car, modules wake up, and it can go up to 4 amps of draw. So that will definitely deplete a battery if it's, you know, using it 7 days. So that's something that you need to be taking consideration of when you are trying to diagnose something like this. All right, so another thing that we can see is immobilization. Let me see, mobilization period, driving profile. Let me see the driving profile. Okay, this is another good one here. So, because this is, a customer can tell you anything they want. This is what the computer saw. In the last 33 days, this car has only been driven for 732 kilometers. That is, what, 500 miles at the most. I have to, you know, do the change, but otherwise, if you really want to know that, you can do it. Just divide that by 1.6. And the number of journeys are a total of 52 in those 33 days. And if we see, you know, the majority of the time this car is being driven is in between 5 to 20 kilometers. So 5 to, you know, like almost 18 miles at the most. So is that enough? The problem is this is a very broad spectrum, because it can go from 5 to 20. So it's 5 or 20, it can be either one, right? And this car needs to be driven at least 20 miles for that battery to be completely back into charge. Otherwise, it's going to start not being enough charging there, and it's going to start having problems. And this is what I think we experienced. Let me see, mobilization period. I think we might have seen that already. Oh no, we haven't seen this. So it also showed me that in the past 33 days, this car was without being moved for 7 days. So, and this is the longest time. So it was 7 days that it wasn't moved. You have a car like this, it hasn't moved for 7 days, you need to put a battery tender, because it will most likely start to create issues. All right, so let me see what else. Driving profile, list of possible causes. No, we don't want to do that. Resolve of the last closed circuits. Those the all pass. Driving profile, we already see. Let me see what is in battery. I think we already see that. Yeah, that was already see. Yeah, we already see all those. So yeah, there's as much as in here that I can gather. I would recommend for this customer, and based on his driving profile, to put a new battery on it. And I'm going to test the charging system and the communication on the alternator, the BSD line, to make sure that we're not losing the communication to the alternator, even because we have a problem with an alternator. I mean, it's new, doesn't mean it's good. I mean, it can happen, right? Or we have a problem with any other circuit that is attached to that BSD part, right? So let me take you over there. All right, I'm trying to keep this video as short as possible. So we're going to end this prematurely because we're not really doing the whole test. Let me see what I can find as far as, I like to go to wire diagrams. There is a lot you can do in this. You can go to vehicle management and you can do a text search, and then we can, put in here alternator. I'm gonna do that. And then let me share, searching document, search for document number. No, because it's not. Let's do a search, and it's going to give us a bunch of different tests and wire diagrams and so on that we can actually check. Let's just wait for it to be populated. All these are, a lot of terms are like all this FUB and all that is, I think, in German. You need to translate that, but just start using it, and then you remember what that means. ABL is a test. I think FUB is information. Alternator is going to have a broad. This is a very important right here. You see the bit serial data interface, the BSD. That's what we're looking for. So either one of those. We can see intelligent alternator control, intelligent battery sensor. Those most likely will be part of that same BSD lines. But before I can say that, let's go over to a wire diagram, right? This is going to be a more information video than a diagnosis, but this is a way to a diagnose approach that you can do for a car that has a problem with an alternator. And also I'm trying to show you the very importance of using an original equipment when you're, especially like this shop, all we work is in BMW branded vehicles. So that's why this is the best tool to use. And don't get me wrong, I still use my Snap-on or Ultra Autel if I want to go over to a test drive, because this is lack on this scanner, no graphic. You got no graphic mode, so you cannot really see. You can take, and then co-op the ECU, and I can show you that in a second, and that will give you numbers but no graph. So whenever you really want to have a graph, or like auto sensor or field trims or so, use your generic scanner, because this is not going to work. So it's always a space for having other tools, not just the original one. I think that we can stop this because it's just going too much. All right, so if I click in here, this is going to open and it's going to give me diagnosis instruction. All right, the BSD serial is a data transfer rate of 1.2 kilobits. And it looks like we have this according to the following components are connected across the bit serial interface is the alternator, the IBS or intelligent battery sensor, the preheating control unit for diesel, just for diesel engine, electric coolant pump. Okay, that's important to know that. So that pump is on that same circuit, and the oil condition sensor, and that all depends on, this is, remember, a very generic information. It's not just for this particular vehicle. But okay, so let's close this. Let's see if we have any other thing that we can, alternator, drive and mounting parts. I think this is just going to be information as well. Yeah, let's close this. It's just, you know, the mounting. We're looking for all this. Our EP is repair information, so that will not. And again, this is all the repair information we have, and this is an oscillogram for the alternator, for a faulty alternator. Oscillogram for a fault-free alternator. Open circuit. Hello, hello. Hopefully my headphone is not dying. So all this is very good information that we can use. But I'm looking for wire diagrams. I think my headphone is about to die. Let's see if this is going to give me wire diagrams, which is what I'm looking for. Yes. All right. So, and this is the nice thing about Ista. Now, if I go full screen, I have to touch here, and now full screen. I can zoom in. And the nice about, you got everything in here. Okay, you want to know what this intelligent battery sensor is, just click in here, and it's going to open another window, and it's going to show you where that is. I mean, you got everything. You got the repair information, you got the wire diagrams, everything is in here. Here, they're a little different, which this one is not much. This is actually a nice color wire diagram, and is very good. So we can close that. Go back to the intelligent battery sensor. Yeah, we got the alternator here, and this will be the line of the BSD. And this is how you, I mean, this is exactly what I will use for testing. These alternators are very hard to reach where it's located, and we can see that. I think I showed this picture before, and that's, you know, they show you where is under all those stuff that I show you inside the car. So that's not going to be too helpful, but we can either go to the DME if we want to check that, or in this case we can use the battery sensor, which is a very easy, convenient location, because this is going to have the same BSD line, right? So why it's not opening? It's just telling me that it is a signal. Let me see. Oh, that's just an early production. Connect to view. You see, it's like connect to view installation location. So that is the same thing. I'm talking close to the phone, so hopefully this hasn't died yet. But yeah, this is all in the same circuit. A different color, but it's going to be in the same circuit. And it's also telling me where the location of the connector. We can use the X60002 or the X60003. They're going to be on the same network or bus. Let's call this a bus, and that's where the computer is located, right? So it's in the left corner of the vehicle, and this is the computer view, which is what we'll be using. But again, this is more information on how you approach a diagnosis and how to gather information. I have not get approved yet to do anything, so if I do the diagnosis, I will take you most likely with me over to the whole test and the test drive, and that's probably going to be on the second part of this video. This is information gathering and why you will want to use original equipment. Again, this is you can see that I have a battery maintainer. I keep it on like around 13 volts, so as I can adjust it. These power max right here are really good, and they have an adjustment that we can do, a little screwdriver somewhere in there, but yeah, you can raise up the voltage, and it's very, very convenient. But yeah, I mean, I love these wire diagrams. It's very, very easy to read. All the information you need for BMWs is here. If you're going, just the only thing that you will probably be necessary to use another scanner is, again, if you're going for a test drive, which I will do, and get an oscilloscope and probably another scanner just to see graph. But besides that, on your bay, this is the best way or the best tool you can have period to work on BMWs.